The Honorable Aaron Murphy, Majority Leader of the Minnesota Senate. And the Honorable Natalie Hudson, Minnesota Supreme Court Chief Justice. I have the honor to announce the arrival of the Honorable Peggy Flanagan, Lieutenant Governor of the State of Minnesota. I have the honor to acknowledge members of the Minnesota Supreme Court and the Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals. I have the honor to acknowledge the Honorable Mark Dayton, former Governor of the State of Minnesota. Please stand, as you are able, for the presentation of the colors and remain standing for the singing of the national anthem. Please welcome members of the Owatonna High School Choir for the singing of the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the nights that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please welcome Reverend Mark Patrick.
Oh, please be seated. When I was in seminary years ago, or a lot of years ago, there was a theologian that I especially appreciated, Helmut Thielicke, and he said that we should only pray for things that we're willing to be part of the answer for. So when we pray, we're actually making ourselves available for action, not just good feelings or good intentions. So let's pray. Our Lord, we've come today for our yearly reassessment of where we are as a state. And this will lead to our recalibrating our priorities and probably reallocating some of our resources. But we live in Minnesota and we're grateful. Matter of fact, we believe that it's the best state in the country. We love the four seasons. Thank you. We love the North Shore of Superior. Thank you. We love the cold, natural air conditioning climate way up north. Thank you. We love the mystical, magical northern lights. Thank you. We love the bountiful, rich farmland. Thank you. We love our excellent schools, and our sports. Thank you. We love the creative arts and culture celebrating our diversity. Thank you. We love our renowned healthcare resources. Thank you. And we love the fact that we have more than 10,000 lakes. Thank you. Yet, Lord, our challenge is that we also have nearly 10,000 opinions of how we should move forward. And some of them are really, really good. We acknowledge that the polarization and the divisions in our country are beyond anything we could have expected. So now we look to you to bring us together. When cynicism creeps into our reactions and our conversations, bring us back to our best selves as we collaborate with each other. When controversy becomes our focus, rekindle our compassion with one another. When caustic criticism becomes so natural, remind us of our ability to work together toward creative solutions. When the negativity surrounding us seems overwhelming, enable us to create the mindset presented by the New Testament author Paul when he said, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. So, Lord, teach us to focus on what is positive and practical, and may the mindset inform our priorities and our decisions. Now, the Old Testament prophet Micah summed up your desires for us, Lord, this way. He said, "He has told you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God?" Lord, may we more and more live by these values. Bless our state of Minnesota. Guide our leaders with courage and creativity, and bless each of us as we do our part. Amen.
I have the honor to announce the arrival of the Honorable Tim Walz, Governor of the State of Minnesota.
Thank you. Thank you all, and good evening. Chaplain, thank you for the beautiful words, and please, one more round of applause for the Owatonna High School Choir. Incredible, incredible. Madam Speaker and members of the Minnesota House of Representatives, Madam Majority Leader and members of the Minnesota Senate, Madam Chief Justice, distinguished members of the Minnesota Supreme Court, and Chief Judge Siegel, my fellow constitutional officers, members of my staff, cabinet, and the administration, Governor Dayton and Mrs. Anna Dayton, wonderful to see you both. Distinguished tribal leaders, members of the Minnesota National Guard, Chaplain Mark Patrick, Superintendent Elstead, Principal Kath, staff and faculty at Owatonna High School, and especially students of Owatonna High School. Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and Minnesota's second gentleman, Tom Weber. Minnesota's First Lady, Gwen Walz. Thank you. Honored guests and my fellow Minnesotans. Maybe it's the smell of that freshly sharpened pencil. Maybe it's the sight of those desks all lined up in their neatest rows. Maybe it's the sound of nervous, youthful chatter filling the hallways. But whatever it is, if you're a teacher, nothing, and I mean nothing, beats the first day of school. Take it from Gwen and me. For many years of our lives, we celebrated New Year's Day not in January, but in early fall, when the doors opened back up and the kids came back from summer break. The first day of school is all about hope. It's all about opportunity, and it's all about endless possibility. That's never been more true than here in Owatonna last fall, when the doors opened on this beautiful new building, a 317,000 square foot state-of-the-art symbol of this community's commitment to its children. Imagine when you walk through the door the first time as a student, the whole world opens up in front of you. The classrooms here are gorgeous. They're full of natural light and modern technology. And as you explore, you'll find not only the wood, the metal, and the engine shop, you'll find next generation hydroponic equipment, a nursing lab, a full commercial kitchen, and so much more. Because this building's a factory, and what it manufactures is futures. You can see when you walk in here, the curb appeal is undeniable. But this building wasn't built for looks or the first day of school. It was built for the last. When a student walks out of here the last time as a graduating senior, they're going to have a ticket in their pocket, a ticket to a good-paying career that they can feel excited about pursuing. They'll go on to be construction managers and firefighters, farmers, welders, and cardiac surgeons. And not only will they have the foundation to pursue any life they can dream of, many of them will have advanced credentials that gives them a leg up on that journey. Think about how many young people will walk out those doors each spring full of passion, purpose, and ready to make a contribution to this community, this state, and this world. Ready to work and build and grow. Ready to make the state of our state even stronger than it is today. I came and thank all of you for coming tonight to celebrate this magnificent school and discuss the work that we're doing to improve the lives of children across Minnesota. But I also want people to remember just how many things had to go right for this vision to become a reality. Everybody in this town knows the backstory. The old high school, while beautiful and historic, was 100 years old. And people in this community have been talking about replacing it for decades. But it wasn't until a few years ago that the leaders in the public and private sectors came together and decided it was time to stop talking and time to start building. Federated Insurance, a cornerstone of Owatonna since the early 20th century, pledged a major investment, not just for the good of their community, which they care deeply about, but the good of the future workforce. Other companies joined in, offering not just money, but equipment and expertise. Owatonna voters overwhelmingly approved a bonding referendum. And finally, this community was ready to take the plunge and actually put some shovels in the ground. That small window of opportunity, that brief moment when the stars aligned, produced a community institution that you're in today that will stand for decades and will impact tens of thousands of children. Many in this room know that most of the time, politics is incremental, frustrating, and sometimes gridlocked altogether. But every once in a while, you get an opportunity to make a whole lot of progress in a short amount of time. It happened here in Owatonna in 2019, and after a half century of waiting, it happened again in St. Paul in 2023. I couldn't be more proud of the work that we've done together in this window of opportunity to improve education inside the walls of this school and in every school across the state. We've given our children a brighter future by making the largest investment in public education in our state's history. We've increased teacher pay and doubled down on our efforts to recruit teachers from more diverse backgrounds. We've expanded access to mental health resources, social workers, nurses, and chemical dependency counselors. We've invested in making sure every student can read at grade level. We've expanded special education, career, and technical education as part of our commitment that says every Minnesota student should receive a world-class education, regardless of where they live or where they go to school. We're working to make Minnesota the best state in the country for a kid to grow up, and our work extends far beyond the walls of this school. We've expanded access to pre-K and to affordable child care. We have made a billion billion-dollar investment in affordable housing so those children and families have a place to call home. We've established free college education for low-income families so everybody has the opportunity to pursue their dream. We've made it easier to balance career and family by making paid family and medical leave the law of the land. And we want everyone to feel welcome. And we've made Minnesota a more welcoming place by outlawing things like conversion therapy for our LGBTQ youth and putting in new protections for trans Minnesotans so they can live their authentic lives. We've invested together hundreds of millions of dollars to bring competitive, high-paying jobs to Minnesota, to expand our economy with an eye towards a sustainable green energy future. We've expanded the right to collectively bargain and organize because Minnesota always has been and always will be a labor state. And we collectively have lived up to our responsibility to our elders by cutting taxes for our seniors. We've invested $300 million in public safety for communities across the state to fight crime and improve emergency services. And we struck a blow against climate change, putting Minnesota on a path to 100% clean energy by 2040 and leading the nation. We expanded voting rights to make it easier for people to vote, thanks to the leadership of Secretary Simon. And we've announced plans to stop medical debt from ruining people's credit and lives and cut that interest rate back to zero because of the leadership of the Attorney General. And we put food on the table for struggling families by passing a new child tax credit that is estimated to cut childhood poverty in Minnesota by 1/3, making Minnesota the state with the lowest childhood poverty rate in the country. Look, and speaking of putting the food on the table, especially in this place, we're already seeing real results from our groundbreaking commitment to providing free school, breakfast, and lunch to all of our children. The data shows 30% more kids are eating breakfast, 11% more kids are eating lunch at school than before, truly illustrating the scope of the problem that we're trying to tackle. That means students that might have had an empty stomach now go into that classroom full and ready to learn. Now yet, for some reason, some, and I will say this, especially from other states, roll their eyes when we talk about the importance of collectively working to educate and feed our children. They say it's not the role of the government to parent on all the food and all the education on this. Certainly not. But instead of working to solve those problems, they're spending their time and energy and their political capital picking fights with beer companies and librarians. Look, speaking on behalf of Minnesotans, we are happy to have people move here. We are happy to have private sector investment dollars here, and we're happy to have brilliant young people moving in from other states. But what we're not going to take is radical ideas that make it more difficult for someone to live the life that they're choosing to live. That is especially true where we're seeing across the country choosing to interfere with people's families. We saw it recently with a bunch of judges down in Alabama, ruled that a frozen embryo holds the same right as a human being. As a direct result of that decision, fertility clinics closed across the state, putting men and women only wishing to have a family with nowhere to turn. Some of you have heard me say this, and I heard people come up and say, we haven't heard you talk about this before. That's because your own personal decisions about your family are no one's business but your own. But I will say this, if you have never personally gone through the hell of infertility, I guarantee you someone you know has. And I know that when Gwen and I were having trouble getting pregnant, the anxiety, the frustration would have blotted out the sun. All we wanted was something that seemed so simple, to have that child. What those judges did was a direct attack on our family. It was a direct attack on my children. Gwen and I will not forget it, nor will we forgive it, and neither will thousands across this state. When Roe v. Wade was overturned in 2022, the door was wide open for this type of attacks on personal decisions and personal families. That attack has been here, and it's up to us to make sure we stop it. That's why here in Minnesota, the legislature took action after Roe v. Wade fell, writing protections for reproductive freedom into our state laws and making sure that people, not politicians, can make their own reproductive choices, including IVF. You have my pledge, as long as I am governor, IVF will continue to be a lifeline of hope for families just like mine, so they too can celebrate the beautiful families that each and every one of us so dearly want. So meanwhile, while they fight these fights, we're going to keep building. We're going to keep building those families. We're going to keep building communities. We're going to keep building more roads and bridges. We're going to keep building more career pathways and more schools, and we're going to be building more opportunities for our kids, their kids, and for generations to come. And I'll say, part of that good work includes following up on all of the incredible work that this legislature did. Things like building a new state agency focused on children, youth, and families to be more efficient in implementing programs. We need to stand up paid family and medical leave, and we need to make sure that our adult use cannabis work to make sure that we expunge those prosecutions that should have never been there in the first place, making sure adults can make their own choices. And that work, and I want to thank the people who do that work, the state employees who are working around the clock to make sure that Minnesotans can take advantage of this legislator's positive vision for Minnesota. So thank you to the state workers. That work will include building on a foundation for more success. Just recently, we've reached an agreement on a next set of budget targets. And I want to thank our legislative leaders for their cooperation, dedication, and working together. Earlier this year, Lieutenant Governor and I announced the major new infrastructure plan, something that always has bipartisan support, an ambitious effort to invest in the things that make our communities strong: clean water, safe streets, affordable housing. This plan makes sure that every community has safe streets. While violent crime has declined in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and across the state, there's still much work to do. We're putting real funding behind this commitment, including expanding the capacity for the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension and planning for the construction of a new Minnesota State Patrol headquarters. This plan also makes sure that we're continuing to invest to make sure every Minnesotan has a safe and affordable place to call home. We're backing development of multifamily housing so that seniors, families, and anyone facing homelessness can find a place to be. And we want to update the Minneapolis Veterans Home to better serve those who have served us. This plan that's before the legislature makes sure that we're investing in clean water so every Minnesotan has access to it. We want to invest in grants and low-interest loans to replace lead pipes and remove the so-called forever chemicals from drinking water across the state. And being good stewards of the taxpayer dollars, we want to make sure that every building that's owned by the taxpayer is in good repair. Buildings like the ones at Minnesota State and the university are in need of renovation and upkeep, and our infrastructure plan has funding to make it happen. And the good news is all of that work will be done by union labor. Things might not be that flashy, but these are the initiatives that make an enormous difference in real people's lives across the state. And there's no reason we can't get them done this session. There's no reason that both parties can't be part of getting this done. I know we're not going to agree on everything. Safe streets, we can agree on. Clean water, we can agree on. Affordable housing, we can agree on. So I'm asking you to join me, and not just at the ribbon cutting, but in the work to get it done in the first place. One last thing I'd like to talk about when you're in this space. I walked around the halls, and some of you, I hope you got a chance to see this magnificent facility. I walked around the halls, and I tried to put myself in the shoes of a student walking in there for the first time. I want those kids to feel hopeful. I want them to feel inspired. I want them to feel cared for, which they are. But there's one thing that I want no kid to feel. The one thing that no child in any building should feel is afraid. When you come into high school, you should be worried about pop quizzes and prom dates, not mass shootings. And that's why, as governor, I've made it a point to move towards responsible gun ownership and take the NRA on these issues. Last year, we implemented 2 pieces of legislation that are long overdue. Red flags are extreme risk protection orders, and we strengthen background checks. And make no mistake about it, this keeps guns out of the wrong hands and save lives. Tonight, I'm urging the legislature together to join me and our schools and our communities to make them just a little bit safer by strengthening the requirements around the safe storage of firearms and asking our neighbors to report lost or stolen firearms, and increasing the criminal penalties for straw purchases. These are bipartisan ideas that we should be able to get done, making a difference in safety in Minnesota. Again, I'm not naive. It can be a dangerous world. We were reminded of that earlier when 3 of our bravest first responders lost their lives at the hands of a man who should have never had a gun. We know that we can't legislate against every act of violence, but surely we can do more. Asking your neighbors to store those guns safely, to report them if they're stolen, is a simple step that can save lives, and it's high time Minnesota take that simple step. In a school, it's always a first and last on things. And look, if Minnesotans want to look at the record of accomplishment and keep sending us back to St. Paul, I wouldn't mind that one bit. We've got a lot of work yet to do, but this window of opportunity is still open. We need to keep working to get the progress done. But I, like all of you, know that public service is not a permanent privilege for any one party nor any one person. No matter which party we belong to or how long we've been in office, there was a first day on the job. My guess is it probably looked a lot like the first day of school. A little bit of nervousness, a little bit of excitement. Can't find the bathrooms, who you're going to have lunch with. All of you know it's what it was. Well, the truth is, each of us is going to have a last day in office too. We're going to leave a little bit older, some a lot older, maybe a little bit grayer, but hopefully all of us a little wiser. We walk out the doors of the Capitol in St. Paul for the last time. We're going to get that opportunity, every single one of us, to ask ourselves a simple question. What kind of future have we built? Not for us, but for our kids and the state that we love. I don't know how long the window of opportunity we're in will stay open, but I'm committed to you that we'll do everything in our power to try and improve the lives of Minnesotans and leave our state better than we found it. A generation from now, nobody's going to remember what silly fight got somebody on TV, but the things that we're fighting for will still stand. Better schools like this one, cleaner water, safer streets, better paying jobs, more prosperous businesses, a state that invests in our children and our future. That's what it means to build. That's what it means to grow. And I think that's what it means to lead. Tonight, I'm proud to report that the state of our state is strong, Minnesota. And one of the main reasons is because the kids of our state are better equipped to thrive. If you've ever doubted that, I would ask everyone, just come on down to Owatonna, walk through these halls, and join me in dreaming about the futures that will be built right here. Thank you. May God bless each and every one of you, and may God bless the state of Minnesota.